bring them back. If they don't want that, don't blame ourselves. There's nothing we can do unless you feel you can tie your friend's hands and, drag them to church. You can't do that, and they're not going to be happy sitting in the pew with their hands tied. They're not going to want to come back. So the best we can do is try our best to encourage people to come. And we have to be doing that. Deaf people know deaf people. I don't know them. And I do know, however, that the Jehovah's Witnesses, they came to my house 2 weeks ago. Somebody in that group said that I was deaf and I signed. They came to my house out there and tried, the Jehovah's Witnesses are going around to all of these people's houses.
By the way, I have to hear the story.
And don't...
I have to hear the story.
There is no story. They came to my house, that's all. Now, in the past, when I lived over here on Tam Avenue, they came to my house. I was dressed in my bathrobe. It's the truth.
He followed him up the street.
They came to my house.
Yes.
And I talked with them at the door, and I explained that Jesus died to save me, and they turned around, and they started walking away, and here I am. There were other Jehovah's Witnesses at other doors, so people were standing in their doors. Here I am, walking on the street in my bathrobe.
I'm like John.
And I would say, don't listen to them. They don't follow. Here I am in my bathrobe like Jesus, walking on the street, telling my neighbors, don't listen to them. I don't even think
You
I
were
realized.
put on a list after that.
Yeah, I was on a list after that. They never came back to my house. This crazy man in his bathrobe walking on the street. But the point is that they are trying to contact deaf people. We need to be doing the same thing. We don't have to go up to their houses, but when we see them at different things, just take whatever situation or opportunity God gives you. And Laura did that with her friend. That's all we can do. You can't force them, but take every opportunity you have. They don't know their last day, and you and I don't know our last day. I mean, there are so many examples. This last week, there were 2 examples on the TV of all of a sudden, somebody was killed by something that happened to them. And they didn't expect to die that day. This in Texas, this person riding in the cab.
But that one was on drugs and driving, fell asleep and hit that woman and that baby.
That's another one.
Yeah, that's what I'm about.
But this they don't know why this big city truck thing down in Texas plowed right into that cab and killed the lady only. I mean, it was like, you never know. And so it's very important that, we try the best we can because we want people to know. You have another thing? Anyway, the command that God says about the Lord's Supper, each receiving, that's the often part. We say there, do this often to remember me. It's the often word isn't in the Bible. It's each time you receive. See, there's the often word. You proclaim the Lord's death until he comes again. That's what the Bible says. And that's what Laura can say. The next time she sees his friend. The reason I go to the Lord's Supper? Because Jesus says, I proclaim his death until he comes again. That's important. If you're not going to the Lord's Supper...
But if you call that person there people that they too much to
Well, that's true.
There are churches that command you to come to church every Sunday, no matter, and it's like a law.
Well, that is a law.
I know, but not like our law.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. And I have talked to people and they said, I don't go to church because it's for I have to go to church.
Okay.
That's wrong. And that's why we have problems with people not coming to church because they're turned off
why is that law wrong? And why, I'm asking him, why is that way that you just said the law wrong, and what I said law is okay? What's the difference?
That law says it's okay because Jesus saved me, I go, and it's His faith in me that helped me go to church and repent and remember and the Lord's Supper and all that. But the other church, it's like the Jews. They have 10 laws and they made it 612 laws. It's a command, you must or you die.
Okay, see, there are the 3 uses of the law. Okay, you learned that in confirmation. Okay, what? What's the first one you said? Oh, the bit like a horse. Okay, you know, the law commands specific actions that you have to do. The law also prevents actions from happening, so it's like a curb. And then the third way is what I talk about, guides God's people to do the things like he said. So if you make attendance to church a command, that's something I do. You know, law is something I do. Church is the place where we see, know, and learn the things God does. Now the people say, but it's okay, because the people need to come to church to be able to get that. And that's true. But you do that through the third use of the law. You don't do it for the first use of the law unless they are sinning, which you could say, well, you know, God's law says if we don't want to do these things, we're sinning. You understand that? You can explain the things that way and not like a force.
Yeah.
If you use the law to force someone, the law cannot save anyone. See, you're almost like, if I go, I'm doing it myself to save myself. See, you almost make it something the law